So now we will see that what are the different types of process validation, the remaining types, right? So the first one is the concurrent validation. So when I say the concurrent validation, so it's for the in process, right? As well as the process it's going on. So we can say specifically for monitoring of the in process parameter, the in process monitoring of critical processing steps, that CPS again, or critical processing parameters, and end product testing of current product. Okay, so concurrent is for what? Concurrent is for current product. Concurrent is for what? It is for monitoring the in process critical processing steps for the product. So remember one thing, whenever the concurrent word comes, so it is for the current product. Fine. So this is in process monitoring of critical processing steps and end product testing of current production, can provide a documented evidence. So this is again that validation is always associated with the documented evidence. So this is for the that provide the documented evidence to show the manufacturing process is in a state of control. Why we need to go for the concurrent validation? We need to show that the water process we are going through, that the process is in the state of control, right? And that's why we require this concurrent validation. Such a validation documentation can be provided from the test parameter and data sources. So it can be provided from the test parameters and data sources disclosed in the section on retrospective validation. So you can see here what they are saying here, the validation documentation can be provided from the test parameters and data sources disclosed in the section of retrospective validation, because you're talking about the current product validation. So as we were looking after the concurrent validation, right? So in this case, where we can say we have to take a data, or we have to work on a current data, and we have to make sure that all the processes are in a state of control. So for selecting the data, we have to go back and we have to just go through the existing batches. So that time we generally export the data from retrospective validation. Okay, so that's why here the test parameters and data sources disclosed in a section on retrospective validation. And selections of test parameters should be made on the basis of critical processing variables to be evaluated. And here, while selecting the test parameters, you have to made it on the basis of critical processing variables. So that CP variables are different, right? Process variables are different. So we have to, whenever we are selecting the test parameters are different, variables are different. So that time we have to made it on the basis of critical processing variables to be evaluated. So it would be very clear with the next slide. So where we can see the test parameter and data source. Okay, so here you can say process is in a state of control is only possible if you control all these test parameters, right? So here the data source is in product testing. So generally for this average unit patency, this is the test parameter, right? Average unit patency. Average unit patency means what? So unit is what? A single. Average unit patency is like acceptable or not. So it generally the source is an end product testing. So by testing the end final product, we can give this test parameters, or we will get the clear clarification with this average unit patency. Then the content uniformity for this, you can consider this is for a single tablet. Okay, so if I say a tablet, the average unit patency I'll get from the end product testing. Fine. Then content uniformity is again I'll get from the end product testing. Dissolution time, I'll get the information from the end product testing. Weight variation is again the fourth one, where the data source is the end products testing. So after, like at the end, when we are testing the product, so we'll get all these details about this average unit patency, content uniformity, dissolution time, and weight variation. So these are the test parameters we have to study in case of concurrent validation. Understood? Yes. Going to the next, where you can see all these are the in-process testing parameters, right? So if I say the powder blend uniformity, okay, so this is the some sort of initial process, the beginning process, right? So that is the reason it's an in-process testing. Moisture content, this is again in the nearby time of drying. So that is the in-process testing. Particle or granule size distribution, in-process testing. Weight variation for what? That some sort of in process, during the batch is going on. Then the tablet hardness, that you have to check simultaneously, right? Then the color and clarity. Can anybody tell me if there is a change in the color? What are the defects associated with the color in the tablet?
Mottling.
What happened in mottling?
Ma'am, ununiform color distribution in tablet.
Right, ununiform color distribution in tablet. Any other defect? Mottling is the one, right? But again, one more defect which is slightly associated with the same thing, that color parameter, which affect the color. Yeah, nobody?
Ma'am, I don't know exact disease, but
Yeah.
orange peel effect.
Yes, orange peel effect, right? It's very good answer. That the mottling is the one. The second one is the orange peel effect, where generally peeling comes out, right? And the layering is also that these are the different types of effect, but this 2 or 3 generally we characterize as the color associated. So this time that the test parameter is color and clarity, this is the in-process testing. So the data source is the in-process testing. Viscosity and density, this is in case of your suspension or emulsion, right? Liquid dosage form. Here, this is again the in-process testing. So you cannot come at the end. Otherwise, what will happen? All the containers will get filled with the false solution or false suspension or false emulsion. So here you can say these are all the things we have to test during the concurrent validation. You're getting me? If we are clear with this test parameters and from the data sources, like when we are taking the samples, when we are taking the samples, like in process, we are taking the samples at the end of the batch, right? So this testings we required for the concurrent validation. Understood, everybody? Why we have to do it? To maintain the process, that we have to show it that it is in a state of control, right? And definitely, if we follow this all, then ultimately we will get the quality product. Fine. So this is what all about the concurrent validation. Now the next one is retrospective validation. As we all know that retrospective is associated with the finished product. Okay. And again, as I said, as this finished product is concerned, here again, we have to select some data. We have to select some established product from the process. Shubham, you just, can you mute yourself? Some sort of noise is coming.
Okay.
Yeah. So in case of retrospective validation, it's chosen from the established product whose manufacturing process are considered stable. So it means, what is the first criteria? We will select such a manufacturing process which is considered to be a stable one, right? We will not select any random process. We will select the process which is stable one. When based on economic consideration alone and resource limitations, prospective validation programs cannot be justified. So when we have to consider this things, like when we have to perform retrospective validation, because every time we're not going to perform the prospective validation. The things are like economic consideration or resource limitation is there, right? So every time we will not go for the prospective validation. Hamesha prospective validation nahi karenge. So here what we will do, we'll do the retrospective validation, but for that, what we will do, we will select the established product whose manufacturing process is stable, right? Now, prior to undertaking retrospective validation, wherein the numerical in-process or end product test data of historic production batches are subjective. So what we are going to take, the numerical in-process and end-process test data of historic production. Historic production batches means what? It means
Which done previously.
Previous data.
Yeah, definitely previous data, but this batch
From last 1 year.
Yes, again historic we can say 1 year, and it is in the like more range or more concentration. So it's not like that 100 tablets batch we will consider the historic. Definitely if it is of 1 lakh, 10 lakh, 1 crore of batch is there, so that time we can consider that is the stable one, right? So that is the historic production batches that we need to subject. It is subjected to statistical analysis, right? So what we will do, we will collect all batches data, and definitely it is there on a document, or definitely digital documents are available there. So we'll do for this, we'll go for the statistical analysis, then the equipment facilities, again facilities available there, subsystem, then the connections used over there. So here we can see the subsystem used in the connection with the manufacturing process must be qualified in conformance with current GMP requirements. So while taking the historic production batches data, you need to care with this, that it should conform with the current GMP qualification or current GMP requirement. So it means if you are taking a data of 5 years back batch, right? So you need to confirm that present current GMP situations are or requirements are satisfying the same, right? Because every day there is some changes in the current GMP, that good manufacturing process changes are there. So that time you need to take care of this. So you have to subject it that batches to the statistical analysis. The equipment, are they same or different? Facilities, subsystems used in the connection with the manufacturing process. So you need to confirm with this all data. And the basis for retrospective validation is stated in this 21 CFR 211.110B. So this is as per US FDA. It is mentioned in Code of Federal Regulation. So it is valid in process specification for such characteristics shall be consistent with a drug product final specifications and shall be derived from previous acceptable process average and process variability estimates. Okay, I'm repeating again. This is valid in process specification. So retrospective validation we can consider as a valid in process specification for such a characteristic shall be consistent with the drug product final specification. Drug product final specification and derived from the previous acceptable process average and process variability acceptance. So it should be acceptable from the process average and variability estimate. So it is from the previous batches and where possible and determined by the application of suitable statistical procedures where appropriate. So with the help of statistics, we can take the data. Like we have already the data for the 10 batches with us. And what we are doing, we are taking the same data, and from the same data by applying the statistic, we are finalizing our process. So generally 1 year back products as well as some sort of 20 batches generally we select minimum, right? So sometimes the people we generally ask that for retrospective validation, how many batches you will work on. So generally 20 to 50 batches we have to work on, right? So that batches might be of 1 lakh or 10 lakhs. It depends upon the final processing. Final product आपका कितना था, end product कितना था, उस पर depend करेगी batches कितनी है. Because yesterday only I talked with the person who told me that he is going to do going for the startup. So for startup, I just simply asked that what would be your first batch? So he simply said it's of 5,000 units. So why, I said, why of 5,000 units? So he said ki when we are launching some new drug or new product, so it should be of a small quantity initially, and if the market comes, right, so in that case we can increase it with the more quantity, right? So initially if I say the initial batch is of 5,000, so the final batch is of 5,000, so single batches would be of around 1,000 or 100, right? So that time selection is very different, that we cannot say a historic batch. But somebody is saying that he is already having his product in the market and produce around more than crores of batches. So that time the 20 batches, so single batch might be of 10 lakh tablet or 1 lakh tablet or anything. So likewise, generally in retrospective validation, they select 20 to 50 batches. Okay. So this is what all retrospective validation it is valid in process specification for such a characteristic shall be consistent with the drug product final specification. Whatever you are preparing, right, it should be consistent with the drug final product specification. Okay, so वो उसके final product के specification से match करने चाहिए and shall be derived from the acceptable process average and process variability estimates. So this is for what the retrospective validation. These are the steps for the retrospective validation. Here, this concept of retrospective validation is for using accumulated final product and in-process numerical test data, batch records to provide documented evidence of product process validation. So this concept is defined by using the accumulated final product, okay, and in-process test data. So you must have the end product final data and in-process numerical test data. Batch records, okay, as I'm saying, we will go for 20 batches. Batch records to provide documented evidence of the product process validation. So that the document are showing these are the documented or these are the product or process validation. So it was given by the scientists Mayers and Sims, and that's why it's mentioned here. Initially, the concept was raised in 1980. Okay, then it is also recognized in FDA's guidelines on general principles of process validation. So this retrospective validation concept is also recognized in FDA's guidelines in general principles of process validation. So we can consider it to prevent from the prospective process validation every time. And definitely here you are saving the cost of manufacturing process, right? You are saving the cost of the resources, right, where the resources are limited. So that time it's really acceptable. Now retrospective validation can be conducted like this. So here first gather the numerical data from completed batch record and include assay values, end product test result, and in-process data. So this is the first step of retrospective validation, where you have to gather the numerical data from the completed batch record. Okay, so here we are talking about the batch manufacturing record, BMR, and it must have to include the assay value because it's associated with the purity of product, right? Then the product test result, like how many tests you have carried out, and in-process data for the same. So this is the first step, that is gathering of numerical data. Then second is organize this data in a chronological sequence. What do you mean by chronological sequence?
Ma'am, date-wise.
Date-wise.
Time-wise.
Or time-wise, right? So chronological is what? The date-wise or time-wise. So it's not like that we have selected random any batches. We have to select the chronological way. So that organizes data in a chronological sequence, either in the ascending order or in the descending order. So it's again depends on the product. Then according to the batch manufacturing data and using spreadsheet format. So here you have to specifically follow the spreadsheet format, right? And the second is it should be a chronological sequence. Then the third step, include data from at least the last 20 to 30 manufactured batches. So I have mentioned the 20 to 50, but the exact range we can say it's 20 to 30 manufactured batches for analysis. So you must have to take at least. So they have mentioned at least kam se kam, okay, and that's why I said 20 to 50. So minimum you have to take 20 to 30. Otherwise you can take 100 as well. So it's up to you, as per it depends on again the final batch produced by the company, but minimum the requirement is 20 to 30 manufactured batches for analysis. This is again one of the like what we can say the favorite question of industry person in the Viva. If they ask any question on retrospective validation, they will definitely ask that how many batches you will select for carrying out the retrospective validation. So the exact answer as per the references. So you can mention here while giving the answers, because in this validation, quality assurance, then regulatory affairs, these subjects are like quality control, quality assurance. These subjects are like, you cannot give, this is the right answer. You cannot say, you cannot claim 20 and 30 is the answer. You say that as per the references, because when there is change every day, when I'm saying current GMP is modifying every day, every site is going to get updated every day. So you cannot claim this is the final answer, right? So that time you can say, as per the reference available, 20 to 30 manufactured batches we need to take for the analysis. If the number of batches is less than 20, then include all manufactured batches and commit to obtain the required number of analysis. So if somewhere you say you have less than 20 batches, like in case of the same example I used to repeat, when I have a 10 lakh tablets batch, so I have only 10 batches of 1 lakh each. So that time I have to take all the batches that. Okay, I cannot say I will take only 2 to 3 from the same. I have to take all 10 batches. So it depends upon how many batches you have taken for your manufacturing product. Then this is what you have taken the things, you have selected the criteria which includes all manufacturing batches and commit to obtain the required number for analysis. Then the fourth important one, trim the data by eliminating test results from non-critical processing steps and delete all gratuitous numerical information. It means what you have to do, you have to delete some data, you have to trim some data, and in that deleting part, in the trimming part, what you have to remove test result from non-critical processing parameters. So some of the non-critical processing parameters would be there. Okay, so you have to delete that data. Delete all gratuitous numerical information, that the mix some sort of information, that the random we can see, that you have to eliminate. So you have to keep only a data of critical processing parameters. Okay, then once you have trimmed this data, then next is subject the resultant data to statistical analysis and evaluation. So right now you have the critical processing parameters data and final data, and you have to subject it to the statistical analysis and evaluation. So you can apply it to the statistical analysis and evaluation. It means if some sort of thing, like if I have given you one task that you have to prepare this product, and that time I have told you that up till now in our lab, so many students have prepared the same data or prepared the same product. So what simply you will do now, you will collect all the records, you will find out the procedure, and you will just go through the procedure, and you also go through the results as well, and you just find out what is the minimum or what is the exact answer for this. So my answer should be nearer to the same. Okay, so this type of retrospective analysis is there. Then the sixth one is draw conclusions as to state of control of the manufacturing process based on the analysis of retrospective validation data. So you have to draw the conclusion that all the manufacturing processes are in the state of control as it's based on the analysis of retrospective validation. So you have to prove that even on the basis of retrospective analysis that this process are in the state of control. Okay, and then the seventh one is the issue a report of your findings and documented evidences. So whatever the report will generate after applying the statistical analysis to the data, that ultimately you have to create or is in the form of report, and it will be act as a document evidence that you have carried out this retrospective analysis for this product. Okay, so this is exactly you have to do for all this process. Understood everybody? Like a new, or we can say new batch production, we can take a data from the existing batches, and that is nothing but the retrospective validation. It is also approved or recognized by FDA guidelines that we can take the data from the previous batches, right? Then the next one is the measured responses manufacturing process being evaluated, selected for statistical analysis. So here again, more specifically, if I say in case of the retrospective validation, so what we need to consider, like the same question from the Prerna, that what data we have to trim. So we are deleting some data, but which data we need to keep, like the specific manufacturing process to be evaluated. Then selected that should be selected for the statistical analysis. So solid dosage form, in solid dosage form, the individual assay results from the content uniformity testing that we have to take. Individual tablet hardness values we have to consider. Individual tablet thickness values we have to consider. Tablet or capsule weight variation we have to consider. Individual tablet or capsule dissolution time, usually at 50%, or disintegration time. Individual tablet or capsule moisture content. So when you are talking about the solid dosage form, These things you have to consider, or we have to go through it while selecting the 20 to 30 batches in the retrospective validation. In case of semi-solid liquid dosage form, the pH value, because as it's the aqueous system or as it's a semi-solid or liquid dosage form, so we need to consider the pH value. Then the viscosity of the solution, then the density, color and clarity values, average particle size or distribution, and unit weight variation or potency value. So to be more specific, if I say this data we need to keep while performing the retrospective validation. Okay, this data we need to keep. Understood? So this is specifically for solid dosage form and semi-solid liquid dosage form. Now the statistical methods that may be employed to analyze numerical output data from the manufacturing process. So here generally the statistical methods that may be employed to analyze numerical output, that data from the manufacturing process. So whatever data we are actually getting and we are applying it to the statistics, so that is the manufacturing process data. So generally, what are the steps we generally follow? I hope you understood some part here. Like if you have somewhere like studied statistics subject, so mean, median, mode, to shayad sabko aata hoga, which we had already studied in our 12th as well in mathematics. Like mean, I think it's easy to understand. Then basic statistic we have to apply. Like mean, you have already applied in your analysis practicals as well, where we used to perform 3 times titration and then we have to calculate the mean, right? Standard deviation means if your mean is deviating at some extent, so what is the standard deviation, and tolerance. So that basic statistics we have to apply for the existing data. Then analysis of variance like ANOVA and related techniques. So generally this ANOVA is applied to the data, right, for the final product. Then regression analysis that we have to do for the data we have, that manufacturing process data we have. Then cumulative sum analysis. Cumulative sum analysis is some sort of, we can say, the sum analysis for the product. Like if I say the sum of the tablet weight, so that is a cumulative sum analysis. So if I say the number of tablets, so lakhs of tablets, तो पूरे जितने हैं उसका cumulative sum analysis होगा. Then cumulative difference analysis. So what is the difference between the two units? Then control charting. So averages and range. So as they in the average or in the range or not. So these are the 6 steps we have to apply in the statistical method control. And that is the reason, as I have told you, you need to be thorough with the software, because in pharmaceutical validation, in quality control or quality assurance department, that one team or some people are majorly do this work only. Okay, so they have to be very strong with their hands in this particular part. Then the control charting is there, and in control charting, with the exception of basic statistical analysis, is probably the most useful statistical technique to analyze the retrospective and concurrent process data. And control charting forms the basis of modern statistical process control. So control charting means like where should be it stands, it should mean the range. So this control charting is the averages and ranges. It is very important to maintain the retrospective analysis and the concurrent process data. I hope you understood. These are completely statistical terms that we have to apply right to the existing database we have from the manufacturing process. And by applying this all, we can go for the final formula or final decision that definitely we can take another batch from the same product, for the same product. Understood? Now, moving for the next, I hope you understood. So moving to the next, this is the revalidation. Revalidations are specifically the conditions requiring to study and documentation. And this revalidation is carried when there is a change in the critical component. So when we perform the revalidation, generally we have a prospective validation and concurrent validation. But in some extent, when there is some change in the critical component, so in that condition, we will go for revalidation. So it usually refers to the raw material. Then changes or replacement in the critical piece of modular, that capital equipment. If the equipment is changed, so that time definitely we will go for the revalidation. Change in the facility or plant, usually location or site. So that time we'll go for revalidation. It means if Zydus Cadila is having the so many plants all over India, so ultimately, if one prospective validation is prepared for one product at one place, so it will not go same with all, right? So although they have a prospective process validation, but if they'll be having a different location or site, that time they have to do the revalidation. Fine. Then the significant increase or decrease in the batch size, then sequential batches that fails to meet the product or process specification. So that time definitely we'll go for the revalidation. So these are the 5 things, 5 conditions. If it happens, so that time you have to go for the revalidation. Okay. So why it requires that any type of changes would be there. So ऐसा नहीं है कि equipment change हो गया तो we'll again start with the prospective process validation. That time we can go for the revalidation. Okay. And even when we have a different batch size, so we are getting the things like as the batch started and we are getting the different result with a different batch. So that time also we can go for the revalidation. So the performance requalification studies may be required prior to undertaking specific revalidation assignment. Okay. So this is the performance requalification studies we need to check or need to undertake for the specific revalidation assignment. So this is the revalidation where we will perform the revalidation. कौन से कंडीशन में आप revalidation perform करोगे?
Change in critical component.
Right. Yes.
Then replacement.
Replacement of what?
Ma'am, critical pieces
Of what?
Of modular equipment.
Okay.
And change in facility.
Okay. In simple words, अगर coating machine use कर रहे हैं और coating machine की जो gun रहती है, it's not like gun मारने की, but the gun like position is there. अगर ये gun मैंने change कर दी, so that is the replacement. Okay. So that time I have to go for the revalidation. Yes. Next.
Significant increase or decrease in batch size.
Right. So पहले मैं बोल रही थी 100 के size batch size और बाद में suddenly 1 lakh हो गया. तो अगर sudden change है batch size में, that time revalidation again.
Sequential batches that fail to meet product and process specifications.
Right. So when we are taking the 10 batches and sequentially जब आ रहे हैं, so we are getting a different result. So that time again we'll go for the revalidation. So this is what the revalidation. Again, some things are there, like when there is a change in the packaging, formula, equipment. Again, what we can say, there's a change in the, or which ultimately impact the product effectiveness. That time, this is we will go for the revalidation, and this is also approves or even in the FDA process validation guidelines that we can go for the revalidation. Okay. Or product characteristics, whenever there is a change in the product characteristics, so that time we will go for the revalidation. Then approved packaging is normally selected after the completing package performance qualification testing as well as product compatibility and stability studies. So generally this approved packaging comes or done after this all qualification. Since most of the cases like exception, transdermal delivery system, diagnostic test and medical devices, packaging is not intimately involved in the manufacturing process of the product itself, and it differs from other factors such as raw material. This TDA, transdermal system or diagnostic tests or medical devices, is case mein definitely the packaging is very important and we will consider it as a manufacturing process. But for other products like tablet, capsules, semi-solid, solid dosage form, so that time we will not take it as a manufacturing process part. Okay. So this is what all about the revalidation. Now the product and process is in control to confirm that this all we are performing this validation. So no one way to establish the proof of or the evidence of process validation. So there's not only a one way to give the proof of evidences of process validation. We have to go for all through this. Like if the manufacturer is certain that its product and process are under statistical control, then only they can go for the validation and they can get the better thing or they can launch their product in the market. In the compliance with current GMP regulation, it should satisfy the simple matter to establish a document evidence of process validation through use of prospective, concurrent or retrospective pilot or product quality information data. So it's that the all for the pilot as well as product quality information data. and the choice of procedure and method to be used to establish the validation documentation is left with the manufacturer. So whatever we are preparing, that all the data that we need to keep it with oneself being a manufacturer. So all these things should be there with the manufacturer. So just to prove that the product and process is in control, definitely we have to go through the, or we have to establish the number of proof and evidences for the process validation. Okay, so I hope you understood this all. Here we end with the types of validation. Okay,